hey, when after the first quarter, Lynette come in there and shut them down, scored 33 unanswered points, and I think rushing yards, they cut Leroy the last three quarters to like 69 yards total rushing yards.
I was telling my friend, Lynette, let me tell you some of the great players that came out of Lynette. Bobby Hunt, great quarterback at at Auburn. You had Malin Kent, played quarterback at Auburn. You had Richard Wood, played quarterback at Auburn and also played quarterback for the New York Jets. But Bobby Hunt played safety for the Kansas City Chiefs. What I'm saying, all these guys, Perry Griggs, one of the greatest players to ever play for Troy University. All of these guys came out of Lynette. Bill Gaither, the great lineman at Troy over the years, was a great one out of Lynette.
And they've got tradition. It's just not as strong as some. But I think before the playoff system got started back in the day, I'm not real sure, but I think Lynette might have won a couple of state playoff championships in the past, like in the 60s.
Well, I'll remind you a little bit about, like you said, in the 60s. How old are you? I've been trying to sort of figure how old you are, because you seem like you relate so well to back when I was growing up. How old are you?
58.
Oh, you just a youngster, man. You just a youngster.
I'm youngster compared to you, Coach.
Let me throw a name out at you. Lynette. Right next to Lynette was Valley, and it was called Valley High School of Fairfax.
Right, exactly.
You remember that? Now, they call it Valley now, but it was Valley of Fairfax, and they were twin cities. I mean, you couldn't tell the difference between the two. I reckon the highway sort of split them. Right. But both of them had great teams, and Valley had a team named player that went on to Alabama named Larry Dink Wall. Is that name? You ever heard that name before?
I have.
The great Dink Wall tore his knee up at Alabama. Or Bear Bryant said probably would have won the Heisman Trophy.
Let me throw you another little connection out there, a couple connections from this area to Lynette and the Valley area. Charles Sykes, who got his name coaching at Lanier High School back in the day in the 60s and 70s.
That's right.
Sykes has now passed away. He coached some at South Montgomery in his later years. But, he coached out at
Carver.
Out there at Valley.
Yeah, he also coached at Carver, and his son was later on a coach at Carver, too, I think, wasn't he?
That's right. And he coached at Carver and Lanier, Johnny Davis and Byron Braggs.
Oh, gosh, the great Johnny Davis. Nobody could tackle him.
And I'll tell you something.
Wishbone fullback at Alabama, out of Lanier.
They can't match Johnny Davis on the piano either, son. He can knock out the tunes on the piano.
Well, why if you had to hit that son of a gun every time he came through there? But he weighed about 240, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. And let me say this about Valley. After Robert Maddox left Troy University as coach, did he not go back to Valley and coach something?
He sure did. He sure did, my friend. He sure did. And, of course, he's coached at Lee Scott for the last 10 or 15 years, it seems like.
That's
but
right.
You're right. He went back and coached. The legendary coach at Valley was Lothridge. You remember him? The great old man Lothridge. And, of course, the guy that was coaching over at Valley, you know who that was? I mean, over at not Valley, but we were talking about Lynette. Well, Bill Washburn. Washburn, who was the High School Athletics Association president for all those years. He was from over there. He coached there at Lynette.
Watson, that's right. That's exactly right. And I met Robert Maddox back in the day when I was coming up. Once you got out of baseball in high school, there wasn't a lot of baseball back in the 70s and 80s, so everything turned to softball. That's how I first met Robert Maddox. He would come over to Laverne and Highland Home, and we'd play tournaments, and he'd always be with a team out of Troy. That's when I was first introduced.
And, boy, he was a competitor, too. Whoa, boy. He was, as a coach and as a player, he was a real competitor, no question about it. Want to mention Trojan Detail this morning. You want a car wash? Nobody does it better than Trojan Detail, located right there on Montgomery Street in Troy. Bud from Luverne's calling us this morning, and Bud, you're right. I love to reflect and go back to a lot of these great players The pass is just amazing. Hold on 1 minute. Let's see if I can bring you on with Max. Hold on 1 minute. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Morning. Welcome back.
Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham this morning, and I don't know if we lost Bud or not, but we're trying to bring him back in here. Mike, it is a cold Wednesday here in Troy. I've got my wearing my scarf still, man, so they're trying to warm up.
Yeah, I mean, it's 27 degrees up here, and I think it's going to actually warm up a little bit later this week. Of course, big night in Alabama politics last night.
Well, that was a stunner. Now, you know, I was talking.
Shocks the world.
I was talking to a friend of mine that worked the polls, and I was asking him, I said, well, what do you think? He said, well, I'm thinking that Roy Moore is up 6 or 7%. Shoot, when I turned on the news at 10 o'clock, Roy Moore was predicted the winner. I mean, not Roy Moore, but Doug Jones.
Yeah, when I watched, it was 69% of the votes, and Moore was up by 40,000 votes. And then
that Birmingham vote must have been huge.
Yeah, well, I mean, they follow like 25% for statewide to get on the vote. It ended up being like 38, so
all right.
A huge response.
All right, don't go anywhere. I'm going to put you on hold. Don't go anywhere now. Good morning. You're on Today in L.A. How you doing?
Mike, it's Max. How you this
Max
morning?
Howell calling in from way up in North Mississippi this morning, and good to hear from you, Max. Bud from Luverne was just talking about what a great job you and your buddy did on those high school playoff games.
Well, thank you. I certainly enjoyed it. That was my first, Mike, to call those games at that level. And I certainly enjoyed it. Raycon did a really good job in putting those games on. We did 4 the week before, and then, of course, to get the preliminaries, and then we got to do the finals as well. So,
yeah,
I've certainly enjoyed it.
All right, hold on a minute. I'll put you on hold a second, Max. I'll be right back with you.
Okay.
All right, you still on, Max?
I'm right here.
All right, here we go. I'm going to try this one more time. Okay, both of you on, Mike? You on too?
Yeah,
I'm here, yes.
All right, okay, here we go this morning. We got Mike Amos calling in from Birmingham, and, of course, Max Howell. And, Max, good morning to you. How things going?
Well, it's nice and chilly up here in North Mississippi this morning.
Well, I let me tell you this. I wore a scarf this morning because it was cold outside, and I hadn't taken it off yet. I'm going to warm up before I take it off. I've been to New York. In fact, this time yesterday, I was looking out over all these huge skyscrapers in downtown New York.
Wow. How was your trip?
It was good, and, of course, I watched the Heisman show right there. Hey, I could almost throw a rock and hit the studio where they were having it.
Wow.
And then I was on Colbert's show the other night, and of course, you know, he's a real liberal guy, but very popular guy. His show is at the theater, which Ed Sullivan, which is you could throw a rock and hit it where we were staying, and Colbert had a pretty good guest that night. Mike, it was
he had a real popular actor, Matt Damon.
Matt Damon was on his show, and of course he had something to say about Alabama and all that. And then last night, Max, I was watching from a den here in Troy, and Colbert had probably the best actor out there on the show.
Had Tom Hanks.
Had Tom Hanks. Had Tom Hanks on there, and of course it was really funny to know that I was at his place the night before. And also,
I thought your favorite actor was Clint Eastwood, though.
he is by far. I didn't say that Hanks was my favorite actor. I don't think. Hey, you're right. I like Clint Eastwood. Who's your favorite actor, Max?
You hit it right on. I'll search the TV channels just trying to find Eastwood.
You're right. Everything he's ever done or ever been in has been great, hasn't it?
It really has. So the thing it is, I think TV, they monitor what they put on there at such a high level. It's hard to find good movies. I'll be honest with you.
No question about it. And
Max, what are they saying in Mississippi about Shea Patterson leaving Ole Miss to go to Michigan?
I think, Mike, that's just the beginning. When they changed the rules on that after the sanctions came down, originally it was just going to be seniors that could leave with no penalties. Now they've opened the door. I think there are going to be 4 or 5 others. I know 2 more wide receivers was on that trip to Michigan with him last weekend. I think they're going to, I don't know whether they'll completely get the program or not, but they've opened the doors, let's put it that way. And I'll be honest with you, I think Matt Luke was the guy that needed to be the head football coach. He came from that, that environment. He knows the culture there. He understands what kind of turmoil is going to go on to get that program back halfway straight. And because I think anybody else that had taken it in a couple of years because of the sanctions and the restrictions on trying to get quality players there, I think they'd have been gone anyway. So Patterson, got hurt in after the 3rd or 4th ball game this year, and certainly they ended up 6-6, and I thought that was a tribute to what Luke was able to do.
Yeah, no question about it. And
of course, also former coach Hugh Freeze has been mentioned as possible offensive coordinator at Tennessee under Jeremy Pruitt. Where is Freeze? Is Freeze still in Oxford? He moved back to Memphis. Where is he living?
I think he's staying very low key right now, Mike. I'll be honest with you. I think he's still in and around Oxford, but he doesn't stay there very much. The people I know over there, they don't ever see him.
Yeah. Are you personal friends with him, Max?
No, I was not. I had some really good friends, Mike, on that staff. But Hugh Freeze was a guy that I don't know that he had many really good friends.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you this: you came out with it. You didn't go all out and say, "Well, he did this or he did that," but you mentioned to us earlier in the year that he was in trouble, and you were exactly right.
Yeah. Well, I was so close to that program for a long time, Mike.
Yeah.
And all the guys that helped support the program. I was just getting some information from the inside that it just appeared, having sit in that recruiting chair at Ole Miss, knowing some of the people that were involved, I just knew it couldn't come out right.
Yeah.
It couldn't come out right.
You're right. Nobody could, especially those linemen that were also offered by Alabama. I'm sure Saban is probably the guy that told on him, don't you think?
Well, no, I think it was just a combination. I think the NCAA Mike just took a look. The Treadwell kid came out of Illinois and signed Ole Miss and never made a trip to Oxford. And he was a number 1 or 2 wide receiver in the country.
Yeah.
Kim Beachy out of Georgia had already committed to Clemson. And all of a sudden he flips and goes to Ole Miss.
And then he had a brother too, didn't he?
Yeah, well, his brother was already there, but that Clemson had already offered 5 kids off that high school team to come to Clemson. And my point is, you notice nobody ever heard anything else about those other kids. I would bet none of them went to Clemson for whatever reason. I'm just saying it was a lot of little things that mounted in that thing. No recruiting class at that magnitude in the history of the school had ever chosen to. Tunsil out of Florida had 50 commitments that he was entertaining at that particular time. And all of a sudden he ends up at Ole Miss. You can't move from a mediocre recruiting class year in and year out to the number 1, 2, 3, or 4 class in the country. That's impossible.
And, right.
I think that's what raised the eyes and the ire of basically NCAA as to why they come in. And remember this, guys, they didn't come to Ole Miss looking for football infractions. They came there looking for women's basketball. It's about women's basketball, and once they got in there, they said, whoa, let's take a whole look at the whole program.
That is something, no question about it.
It's going to be interesting to see. Luckily, Ole Miss's backup played lights out down the stretch.
He did. Yeah, he was an outstanding quarterback, and he came there mainly because of Hugh Freeze's offense. He wanted to throw the football, and had an opportunity. And be honest with you, he came out of junior college out of California. Nobody ever heard of the kid before. But he was a 6'4", 220-pound kid. He made good decisions. I understand he's an outstanding academic student. So they've got something to build on from there. But my concern for them is to continue to draw a level of talent that can compete in the SEC West. Alabama's not going anywhere. LSU's going to come back. Texas A&M's going to be up there now, I think, with Jimbo there. I just think it's going to be extremely tough for them to compete consistently at that level.
Wood Genwright and his brother, Reed Genwright, led the Patriots of Pike Liberal Arts to a big win over Fort Dale last night. Goshen boys beat Pike County 47-40, and that was playing without their great player, Zach Alford, Mike. So Goshen looks like they're going to have a pretty good team. Max Howell is our guest this morning, and we were talking about the state high school championships, Max, and you were right. You and your sidekick did all 7 of them from Bryant-Denny Stadium. How was that venue? Did you enjoy that?
Oh, it was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the only thing about it, everything was fine until Friday morning, and we got up and get ready to go to the stadium, and there was 2 inches of snow on the ground.
Yeah, I know it.
And here's the thing. We did a little homework about the stadium itself. That was the first and only game ever played in snow in Tuscaloosa.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, and we did another little bit. Alabama, the University of Alabama's football team has never played in the snow but one time in the history. That was 1964 in the old Sugar Bowl when it was at Tulane Stadium.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was kind of a first for a lot of us to get a chance to do that. And, of course, the snow dropped, and it stopped about midway of the first ball game. And certainly, but it affected, guys, I'll tell you this, it affected the attendance. Mm-hmm. The lowest attendance since the Alabama High School Athletic Association has had a revolving site for both Alabama and Auburn year in and year out. They only had about 32,000 fans. Last year at Auburn, it was 60 plus.
And that was total fans for the whole deal, or what?
I figured Hoover and McGill Tillman would have that alone.
Yeah, well, they did not. I'm telling you, the travel to get to Tuscaloosa. Now, I'll say this: we had a lot of snow that was on the ground, but the roads were wide open. They never closed any of the roads in Tuscaloosa. I understand coming in and out, and maybe you guys down there had a little bit more than that, but they closed the roads going in and out of Montgomery on Friday.
You know,
we had 4.5 inches of Birmingham.
All right, Max, let's see if you can answer this question. What teams in the SEC still play on grass? You know, but, you know, you see a game like that, and you wonder, you know, this new surface that they have now seems like it is really good. What is your feeling about that?
Well, you know, we were down on that field. You know, we went down to meet the coaches and visit with them during warm-ups before every ball game. And the texture of what's there, yeah, I mean, some of these turfs around, I've been in, I don't know, maybe a dozen in the last year or so.
At least.
It's hard to tell, Mike, what's the difference between some of that artificial and the real grass stuff. I will say this, when at Bryant-Denny, where they repainted the center out in the middle, where they put the Alabama High School.
It sure didn't look good, did it?
Well, let me tell you something. That evidently the paint and the grass did not mix, because every time a kid ran across that, they slipped and fell.
Yeah.
We charted that through about 4 or 5 ball games.
Uh-huh.
If you got close to that center, you wasn't going to make a cross there because your feet were going to come out from under you.
Well, Max, you did all those ball games. Tell us a little bit about what you saw.
Well, let me just talk about some of the individuals. I did the recruiting thing not only when I was at Troy, but I was with Florida State and also with Ole Miss. And the thing I was so impressed was with the caliber of athletes, the number of caliber. Here's a program over at Lynette, Alabama. Mike, you and I talked a little bit about it later.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's a 2A high school. Their wide receivers both were 6'7".
What?
The only difference there, they had 6 SEC-type quality players on that team. Their sophomore quarterback has already been offered by Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia. I'm just giving you a
sophomore quarterback.
He's a sophomore, 6'2", 190 pounds, runs a 4.4.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, his dad's a coach too, by the way. So I just say to you, the quality of athletes, the coaching, the Leroy program, for example, down in South Alabama, was as well. They lost, but they were as well coached.
Oh yeah.
Football team I've ever seen.
I saw the game against Goshen, and I was very impressed with their coaching staff. You got a young running back that's going to be good too, isn't he?
Oh, listen, let me tell you. Here was a couple.
He was just 14 years old, wasn't he?
I swear to say, I saw some 9th and 10th graders, Mike. Then I saw UMS come out there with an offensive lineman that was 14 in the 8th grade.
Oh God!
He knocked them on the rear end in a heartbeat. I just saw some really good young talent that I'm going to be excited to watch over the next few years.
Yeah. You know, I noticed we were talking this morning with Bud from Luverne, and talking about these private schools. You know, UMS, St. Paul's out of Mobile, of course McGill Tulane out of Mobile, Briarwood out of Birmingham, St. Luke's out of Mobile. You just keep going and going. Madison, what happened to Madison Academy this year?
They got beat. They never made it. They never made it out of the
I know it, but they usually dominate. But you look at those schools right there, UMS, St. Paul's, and Mobile. Those guys, well, not St. Paul and Mobile, but also McGill Tulane. They can get anybody they want. I mean, like if there's a great lineman over at Murphy, they can just say, "Hey, man, we'll pay you way to come over here." and guarantee you a scholarship, you know.
But here's the first thing that they do, Mike. I had this discussion a couple of weeks ago. Is the fact is they offer some stability, I think, in the academic side, and I think there are a lot of parents out there that look at the private school situation in certain parts of the state or in other states. Is they want a different environment for their kids, and that's where it starts. Then of course, if they happen to be a 6'4", 200-pound quarterback can throw it 50 yards, that's a plus for them.
Yeah. I noticed Hillcrest of Evergreen. When is the last time you've ever? I'm gonna give you a little trivia though, Max. What high school? What college football coach was the first head coach at Hillcrest High School in Evergreen? Do you know?
Doug Barker.
You hit it right on the money. You did hit it right on the money. Have we talked about that before, or you remember that?
No, I just remembered that. Here's the thing, Mike, is that was the first state title that school had ever won, and basically that coach. We had a long interview with him a couple of nights before the ball game, and he was so proud for those kids to come and really achieve what they were able to achieve.
Yeah, they had a good-looking quarterback too, didn't they?
He did that, and I think he was a sophomore, maybe a junior. The thing that I noticed in so many of those programs, maybe not Hoover. Now, Hoover's like a junior college, I'll be honest with you. But the fact that the rest of them, those guys were talent-wise, maybe not have a lot of depth, but the first 22 they put on the field could play with anybody in the country at that level.
Oh yeah.
That was what was impressive to me.
I mean, do you think Hoover could beat like a Division II school?
The maturity, Mike, would be one thing that they can't. But I'm telling you, talent-wise, if both their wide receivers committed to Auburn, I'm going to tell you a kid, the Parker kid that played quarterback, has got no offers yet. Well, he only started the opening ball game. He wasn't even a quarterback. He played defense. He gets 6'1", 220 and can run 4 or 5 or so and throw it through a range shower.
Well, is this Parker that played Alabama's brother or cousin or what?
No. This kid.
You're talking about Wilson.
So local.
Well, no, yeah, that's right. I was thinking of John Parker Wilson. That's what I was thinking about.
No. This kid is a local guy. Came up through the ranks. Has been at Hoover. I think he said 4 years. Had been in the program, and this year was the first time he started. And certainly wasn't even the starting quarterback transferred. Sometime he moved. His parents moved out of the city in Birmingham. And this kid came in as a backup quarterback and really did an outstanding job for him. But that just tells you the talent level that's there. The Pickens kid going to Auburn 6'5" and can jump. I mean, I saw him catch a pass in one of those ball games. and the defensive back came up to tackling guys, he didn't jump over him. He stepped over him like a hurdle for a touchdown. I mean, this, and then of course Bo Jackson's nephew is the other wide receiver there. He's already committed to Auburn. Is a wide receiver.
You know, and I don't know what's happening here, but I'm seeing a lot of Auburn commitments and very few Alabama commitments, Mike.
Well, yeah.
So they're limited how many guys they can sign this year.
Right.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the number. See, the number is down, but let me tell you, Alabama's moved to a natural recruiting base, Mike. The fact is that they go into Texas, they go into New Jersey, and they go into Miami. They going on.
So they're getting the best. Auburn might be getting the best in Alabama, but Alabama's getting the best in the world. Is that right?
Well, that's kind of the comparison. In all fairness, they can make their choices. And if you notice, Coach Saban was not in favor of an early signing period. He wanted that extra, the extra 3 or 4 weeks to evaluate those kids and and find out after the bowl season what he needed. See, remember, guys, the bowl games are not just to get ready for a game to be played at the end of the season. It's the 3 weeks of practice.
Yeah, that's right.
To find out about your team for next year. It's an early spring training.
In fact, this time of year.
Yeah, that's what's so amazing about Tennessee is that Phil Palmer is actually on the road, actively recruiting as a coach / AD for Tennessee right now, which is unbelievable.
Well, he is, Mike, but as much turmoil as they had up there, as full as Butch Jones did over the last 4 years, somebody needs to be on the road to evaluate talent. Because in all fairness, they had a couple of, Kelly Kidd was a good running back. They had a couple of defensive players that were okay, but they did an awful job when it comes to evaluating talent over the last 3 or 4 years.
There's no question about it.
I think it's so funny. Phil Palmer is, 68, 69? It's out there recruiting. I mean, he really does.
Well, I tell you what, he sure did. Hey, when he was at Tennessee, he handled Alabama, didn't he?
Well, you go back and look, guys. There's not enough players in the state of Tennessee to put a championship team on the field.
It's not a good high school playing state, is it?
Now, well, you got a few around Nashville. The Memphis kids. You tell me the last time a Memphis kid went to Tennessee.
When that what was Alabama's contact out of Memphis?
Logan Young.
Logan Young took care of that for Alabama.
He took care of probation for about 2 years too.
Logan Young been an untimely death also, guys. That's another story.
Yeah, I know it. Thank you, sir. Thank you, friend.
The fact is Memphis was kind of. Even though when I was at Ole Miss, we used to have staff meetings about it. Billy just said, "Hey, just don't go into Memphis. That thing has got more snakes crawling around in that educational system up there than you can even announce." I'll be honest with you. So we didn't bother recruiting Memphis, and we were about 50, 60 miles from it. But I just use that as an example to tell you that the guys in Knoxville not going to go all when they can go up down the East Coast. They can go to Florida, they can go into the Carolinas. And kind of cherry pick what they want as well. But the program has got to get back to production on the field. And the first thing, if you notice, Jeremy Pruitt hired was a strength and conditioning coach. When you have as many injuries as you do, they had 9 starters that didn't participate in spring training last year because of injury. Guys,
you're right. That is something.
A program like that.
Well, did he bring the guy from Alabama, or who did he bring in there? Do you know?
I read the name, Mike. I just was getting into it.
Well,
Scott Cochran still at Alabama.
Now I could be totally wrong here, but I just don't see this guy being ready to be a head football coach.
Well, you go out, Mike. It's what you have left to. You have to go back and find a guy when you make a move like that fits what's needed. And right now, Tennessee needs some hard-nosed, tough evaluation. And I think that's what Jeremy Pruitt's going to bring. The key to Jeremy Pruitt is not the fact that the head guy is or is not ready. It's who he surrounds himself with.
He's probably going to have to go the junior college route at first. What do you think?
Well,
Jeremy Pruitt is one of the biggest recruiters on Alabama staff,
right.
And it's won national award for top recruiter.
Well, I didn't realize that.
Guys, here's the thing. The first thing they got to do, though, is surround themselves with assistant coaches that can coach and recruit. That's the whole key to start with.
It tickled me not too long ago, Max. Coach Coach Saban was interviewed one of Troy's assistant coach. Of course, that's been 6 or 7 years ago. Mike knows who I'm talking about, and he told him right out, Frank. He said, I'm not worried about whether you can coach. I'm worried about whether you can recruit. He wants a recruiter first. He acts like he can teach them to coach. Is that right?
Well, let me tell you, Nick Saban, when they walk into staff meeting, Mike, they've already got every day's planned to the hour. What you're going to do every day and every hour. He may sit down with you to share, but his plans are in concrete there.
Yeah.
He hires a few guys like the ball came in from the NFL this past year. He liked his game planning because he likes to run the football. When he brought Kiffin in, Kiffin got him to make a transition to a running quarterback. Just remember, when Jalen Hurts was there, he was the only read option quarterback they had on the roster. The other three kids were all 3 5-step drop throw guys.
And this guy they got now, first of all, he's not a very impressive looking guy. I know that doesn't particularly matter, but you don't have to be pretty, but he's sure not pretty. But he'd even turn some of these recruits off, But
You don't like the fact he's Canadian, too.
But another thing, you're right. He had coached for New England, and he very rarely ever threw the ball to the tight end. How could anybody be the offensive coordinator in New England and not throw it to the tight end?
Well, I think every defense, guys, as they prepare for that, dictate what they're going to do offense. Of course, they've got some other things in a game plan that maybe the opportunity can come by down in distance. Just remember, all that stuff, all that preparation is now run through a computer, and it's all worked on the odds. It's a percentage factor, and that's what they carry those charts for on the sideline. They're telling them down in distance, conditions of the field. I mean, I can't tell you the intricacies that happen on the sideline during a football game that the average fan has no clue about.
The 3 weeks to prepare would definitely give the edge to Saban. Wouldn't you think, if giving him 3 weeks to prepare?
Yeah,
they said this yesterday, though. This is a horrible stat for Alabama. In the last 6 games they played against ranked teams, on third down, Alabama's 20 for 79.
That is terrible, isn't it?
79. That is absolutely horrible.
And they won most of those games, too, didn't they?
Yeah, most of them, but still, that tells you. That goes back to Clemson, and it goes back to Auburn. Clemson and Washington started.
Yeah, they won that ball game. They won those ball games, Mike, just from talent alone.
Max, when you were at Ole Miss, and I remember this so well, you were one of the first guys that really hit the junior colleges hard. I know for years, there's been great junior college programs over there, but when you were at Ole Miss, y'all recruited those guys hard, didn't you?
In 2 years, I brought 11 kids from out of junior college. 10 of them went to the NFL.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done that before at Ole Miss.
Well, I knew you were the guru, you were the guru of doing that. Now, when you went to Florida State, did you recruit the junior colleges, or what did you do?
No, we recruited Miami.
Yeah.
That was like a junior college.
Yeah. Auburn had that school down there. What was the name of it in Miami that they recruited so much for? You remember that?
There's about 3 or 4 high schools there.
Mike, do you remember that one? That Auburn had almost every one of the guys they signed from down there came out of that high school.
I can't remember the name of the one.
It's one of the older schools, and they recruited heavily out of there.
Here's what the thing that the University of Miami. This was when Jimmy Johnson was there, and the fact is that they were within 20 or 30 miles of that stadium. There are 50 6A high schools that play high school football. You could actually sit in that office there and never make a trip and recruit 25 kids that could win national championship.
See, that's where Bud Casey recruited too. He used to recruit that area.
Yep, I'm just telling you guys, it's a talent level there. It's just, look, every wide receiver there, it's 4-4 or better.
And the thing about it, you look at the best wide receiver or the best running back at Michigan, at Ohio State, all of them came from South Florida, didn't they? Nebraska.
Absolutely. I think the last, we did some of this research when I was at Florida State, but I believe at least 100 of the 125 D1 schools had at least 1 or 2 recruits out of the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm. You know,
they put out about 250 D1 players every year in that state.
You know, you can look at things.
Yeah, they don't all just stay, in the state of Florida. A lot of them do, but I know we took about 8 or 10 out of the state of Florida every year. But we were kind of a national recruiting base when I was in Florida State as well. You know,
you can look at different programs, how they changed college football, but in 1964 and in 65, Alabama just destroyed what everybody thought was a great Nebraska team 2 years in a row. One year with Sloan and the other year with Stabler, in the Sugar Bowl, or the Orange Bowl and the Sugar Bowl. And after that, Devaney at Nebraska started recruiting South Florida to get some speed. They just didn't have the speed,
Well, that's what, if you remember, Coach Bryant said, if anybody ever, this was before Spurrier got there, he made the statement, if anybody ever got to the University of Florida, they could
win. Oh, Graves never did win down there much and had all kinds of talent, didn't he?
Yeah, in the state, and it was just a matter of the time, the era, that people were kind of stuck. And it kind of relates, guys, to what Alabama's done in the last 4 or 5 years with the style of play that Jalen Hurts brings to the table.
Now Spurrier got...
You can't find a high school quarterback that huddles up and stands under the center anymore. 99% of them is going to be in the good, and they're going to run and throw out of the good. And that's what the college rank, that's where you got to go to get your players.
No question about it. Max Howell is our guest. We're going to take a short break, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, want to mention our good friends at Preston's. What a great steak you can find at Preston's. And wonderful meat and 3 lunches today at Preston's, located on 231 South. Also, our good friends at Bearfields today. Mike Bearfield and all the great folks in downtown Ozark. One of the finest men's clothing and women's clothing store you'll find anywhere is Bearfields. And Jean's Flowers right here on South Brunish Street have a wonderful selection of Christmas gift ideas to choose from. And, of course, they can send flowers all over this world from Jean's Flowers right here in Troy. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Get the ultimate early holiday gift for the football fans in your family. The 4th annual Raycom Media Camellia Bowl is back. Watch the best from the Sun Belt take on the challengers from the MAC. With ticket packages starting at just $20, it's the perfect holiday gift for the whole family. The Raycom Media Camellia Bowl, Saturday, December 16th at Grandin Bowl in Montgomery. Get your game day tickets now at CameliaBowl.com. History happens here.
The new Smokehouse Pizza from Little Caesars is our first pizza with 3 smoked meats. So we got barbecue champion Big Mo Quezon to test it out. 8-hour smoked brisket.
Certified beefified.
10-hour smoked pulled pork.
Certified hoggified.
Applewood smoked bacon.
Certified baconfied.
Drizzled with tangy barbecue sauce plus a Smokehouse seasoned crust.
Certified smokified.
The new Smokehouse Pizza. Only $9 and only at Little Caesars.
Pizza. Napa know-how.
Here's some Napa know-how for you. Your local Napa Auto Parts store in Troy is under new ownership with an all-new fully stocked store. Big deal, you say? Big deal, we say. Like the ownership, the store has a new look, too. We're still delivering the same Napa quality and know-how, but we've increased our inventory and are committed to helping you find the parts you need when you need them. So come check us out. We've got the right part at the right price at the right time.
Know-how. Napa know-how.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Here at Town & Country, we are proud to be an American.
We've had you covered on the inside since 2005, and with our addition of Southern Grill and Patio, we now have you covered on the outside. Come see our great selection, where we make sure grilling and relaxing go hand in hand.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Get the ultimate early holiday gift for the football fans in your family. The 4th annual Raycom Media Camellia Bowl is back. Watch the best from the Sun Belt take on the challengers from the MAC. With ticket packages starting at just $20, it's the perfect holiday gift for the whole family. The Raycom Media Camellia Bowl, Saturday, December 16th at Grandin Bowl in Montgomery. Get your game day tickets now at CameliaBowl.com. History happens here.
The new Smokehouse Pizza from Little Caesars is our first pizza with 3 smoked meats. So we got barbecue champion Big Mo Quezon to test it out. 8-hour smoked brisket.
He started already now.
Yeah. Back to our show, brought to you by Bank Corp South. And I want to say good morning to Dale Taylor and all the great folks, formerly the Pinkert Agency. You remember James Pinkert, don't you, Max? You remember him?
Yes, I remember the name.
Yeah, James, of course, back in the Max coached here, ladies and gentlemen, from 1965 to 1972 or 73. What was it?
70. I left after 72 seasons.
Yeah, 72 season, and of course coached a lot of good football players over the years. And Max, I was tickled. It seemed like every time I turn around, a lot of these guys that you coached were in town, and I had there was a real good gathering the last ball game with the guys that played the year after you. And if you'll think about it, after the championship, that team there might could have beat the team that you coached. As good as because Al Head, the local product from Troy, y'all just lost one ball game, didn't you? Didn't you go 8-1-1 or something like that?
That's very true. He went down with a knee injury, and we ended up that year with the kid from Greenville.
Yeah, Lionel Ed Rainey. The great Lionel Ed Rainey. You're right. He was a great athlete.
And at the end, the Shepherd, we brought in the Shepherd kid.
Oh, I remember that well.
Yeah, we went to
never played in a college football game in his life, and threw 3 touchdown passes and beat Scrappy Moore in his last game ever coached.
Very true. That was in Chattanooga. But you know what, Mike? That was just a testament to the system we had.
That's what I was fixing to say. Just like Spurrier had a system, y'all had a system of foremost everybody. Atkins had a system.
Absolutely. It is. We were doing some things, Mike, in those days they're just now doing now. We were checking at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, yeah.
You know, nobody at that level was.
Y'all threw a lot to the backside of the backfield, too.
See, that was, you know why? Because the linebackers had never seen that before. They were supposed to cover. We start laughing.
Yeah.
We come to the line of scrimmage, some would start laughing. Well, we'd have 4 wideouts sometimes. They'd be in a 3-man zone.
Then you had a guy like Doug Taylor playing tight end, and y'all threw the tight end. I remember in the championship game, you threw 3 touchdown passes to the tight end. Evidently, they never covered him. Is that right?
They didn't know who to cover. We wideouts from both sides and put Doug right there in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
And Sim would just lob it up to Doug and run his foot.
I'll tell you how good they were, ladies and gentlemen. They ran out of running backs. One of them had to quit because he got married, and his wife said she was going to divorce him if he didn't go to work. So he had to make a choice. So, of course, he was a great player. But you had to take one of your assistant coaches, Andy White. I'm going to have to get Andy on the phone one day. He lives out in Texas. And take a coach off the staff and put the uniform on him so you'd have a running back.
That's true. That's very true, Mike.
Of course, you used a very good young quarterback from South Georgia. He's not with us anymore. What was his name, Max? In the championship game, had a great game. I was trying to think of his name.
We used A.J. Williams. J.A. Williams.
J.A. Williams was one of them, and the kid, we got a transfer. I'm thinking from Alabama. See, Mike, you cloud my memory now. Yeah, I know it. He'll come to me in a minute. He's not with us anymore. He's passed away, but he was a great player. And Cecil Barber. Cecil Barber, that's it. That was him. And you had a linebacker named George Little, a linebacker named Larry Gross, a linebacker named how about Hayes? What a player he was, Sammy Hayes. How about the outside linebacker from Central of Phoenix City? No, from Jordan High, Columbus. Rusty Ninus. Man, I could go on and on.
Jimmy Gillespie.
Jimmy Gillespie, yeah, you're right.
Spillers.
And Gillespie and Spillers.
We had a bunch of kids.
Oh, man, that's right. When those Spillers came in here from transferred from Austin P, where and he had a hard time outliving what his teammates used to kid him all the time. That the fight song for Austin P was "Let's Go P, Let's Go P."
That's right. That's true. We used to. Well, look, Mike. We not only did we have some good players, and we won, but we had a good time.
Oh yeah, no question.
It was a bunch of young guys, and everybody in the country said, "Oh, you keep bringing that many transfers in and get them together and play. All you do is take a bunch of outlaws." You go back and look, and you know this for a fact. Most every one of those kids got degrees.
Oh yeah.
They're successful business guys.
Well, John Deuce from who lives in Haines City, Florida. He hired. He was with Farm Bureau, and he was with the part of the insurance company where they went to disasters all over the country. You know, right. And and he worked for that, and he hired about 10 of those guys. And every one of them got their start in insurance, and a lot of them stayed with it for a long time.
They really did.
Like David Cooper. David Cooper.
All those guys that came there and ended up being, we had the Irish kid from Florida.
Yeah, George and his brother. His brother was a big running back. You remember him?
That's right. And then, we could just go down there. Of course, we go to our best. We go down and talk about Bobby Isley and Danny Glenn and those guys.
And Vince Green. Don't forget Vince Green.
Vince Green was.
I tell you what, people have overshadowed Vince Green. Let me tell you, I don't care. Peggy Griggs was a great one. I don't know if you could ever beat him, but Vince Green was as good of a fine-looking receiver. He could run. He was big. He was tall. He was rangy. He just knew how to play that position.
Well, he did, Mike. And here's the thing: he was one of the few kids we took out of high school. If you remember.
Yeah, came out of Jordan. And of course, so did Doug Taylor. He came out of Jordan too, didn't he?
That's very true.
Boy, y'all had some players that came out of there. Ninus came out of Jordan.
Yes, he did. But see, Billy Atkins was the head coach at Jordan for a couple of years before he came to
I know it, but just think what a good football team he had,
Yep.
And Jimmy Hedrick, you remember the wide receiver Jimmy Hedrick? They call him.
Yeah. I remember.
And of course, you could just name them over and over. And these were the guys that were the people that built Troy's program. Troy never really lost after that. Their programs always,
this is the thing I think that we did, and I was proud to be part of that. I was there when it was just a teachers' college. Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
The coaching. We had some good athletes there, but winning wasn't important. They were teaching us the skills for us to go out and to coach.
Yeah.
When Billy was hired, Dr. Ralph Adams decided they wanted a competitive program. They bring Billy in, and we start recruiting and we start building a program there. We changed the culture at that school.
That's right.
So that winning became and meant something.
Exactly.
To the university. And I was so proud to be part of that transition.
Of course, Dr. Rudy Argeni was one of the assistants prior to Atkins, and along with Coach Clipson and Coach Billy Williams. I thought Billy Williams was a real good football coach. Did you know him, Max?
I knew the name. No,
I think he stayed with y'all at least for one spring training, but he was a very good coach. But what I'm saying is they had to teach a full curriculum of classes. What did Atkins taught badminton, or what did he teach?
Well, we did nothing. I mean, he was the athletic director in the football.
But didn't he tell you to go teach a class every now and then?
Oh, yeah.
You were the golf coach, weren't you?
I was a golf coach. I was a wrestling coach in the off season. I did, but you know what? Other than golf, the wrestling was all about football playing.
Yeah, I know it.
Wrestling to stay in condition. See, we put a weight program in. We did all those things that was a first for Troy. That I'd like to think that the people that run the program now can recognize that it would never started had we not started that early.
That's right, and you're right. And having a president that understood what you had to do. You had to go out and get players. You know, players win games. You know, coaches and, you know, provide the momentum and all that, but you still better have players, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, what I always said about here's the thing I loved about Billy Atkins. You know, we didn't do big motivational speeches and all that. This was Billy's philosophy, Mike. He said, you know, we can get somebody in there and we can jump up and down, scream and holler before the game and get everybody all riled up. You get there on the field, the first time you get hit in the mouth, you forget all that.
Yeah.
You better understand what you're there to do.
Well, I'll tell you the kind of recruiter Atkins was. You know, at that time, the finest tight end in the pro football leagues was Billy Truax, former LSU great, and he was a tight end in the pros. Well, heck, I turned around and this big old huge guy was walking down toward class, and I said, "Who in the heck is he?" They said Jesse Truax, Billy's brother. How did y'all get Jesse Truax to come to Troy from Louisiana?
Well, see, Mike, I can tell you one that I made an effort to get and we didn't get. How confident we were in recruiting. You remember Galen McCullough?
Yeah, very well, yeah.
He was an All-American at Alabama, and I just thought because we won a championship, and he was from Enterprise, and I just get him to transfer and get.
He was one of Brian's favorite players.
I know, and we still laugh about that today. Every time
Galen McCullough, and then Jimmy Carroll came after him, and there was always a center from Enterprise.
Very true, and Coach and Dr. McCullough's had me speak to a bunch of his groups that he's involved with through the years, and we laugh about that till today.
Yeah, he's a what you call not a cosmetic. So what do you call him? Cosmetic surgeon. Yeah.
He's world renowned.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
Yeah.
And
that was my point, was that we were so confident in what we were doing that we had no reservations about going anywhere and asking anybody if they were ready to transfer. We'd take them in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
We knew what we could do with them.
Yeah, no question about it. Max, of course, the holiday season sort of snuck by us, and we didn't really get to talk about where you had your Thanksgiving feast. Tell us about what you did for Thanksgiving and what kind of feast you cooked up for everybody.
Mike, I cooked for two different groups over Thanksgiving. One, I did a traditional turkey, which I do a little bit different than most people. I start my turkey the day before in the oven, it being solid frozen. And I wrap it in tin foil. I baste it with a butter.
What, you put it in there solid frozen?
I put it solid frozen.
You don't leave it in the sink for a day or two. You go ahead and put it in there frozen.
I wrap it tight in tin foil, and I leave it on 200 degrees for 12 hours. And
this is and of course, this is a turkey that right out of the freezer, and you put it in the oven.
I wrap it tight. I put butter, salt, pepper on it, and I wrap it tight, and I leave it for 12 hours at 200 degrees. I unwrap it, let it boil it for about 3 or 4 minutes to brown it. And that was a traditional. Then I made I make an oyster dressing as well. I make a traditional dressing, but I always do the
now, I'll be honest with you. I like I like fried oysters, and I like raw oysters, but don't give me any oyster stew. Or don't give me any dressing with oysters. Hey, look, hey, don't take away from a good dressing now.
Listen, I'll make a combination. I'll make two. I'll make traditional, but I always see.
And got to have cranberry sauce.
And I make my cranberry sauce. I don't use the jelly kind.
Yeah.
I do it I make the candy on the stove with a little bit of sugar. I boil them. I get the syrup out of it, and I put the candy cranberry dressing on cranberry sauce on the side for the dressing.
Yeah.
So I did all that. I did some sides. I always do a green bean casserole, and I'll do congealed salads along the way. I'll do two kinds of breads. I'll do a traditional cornbread, even with the dressing. A lot of people that I serve up here like that. Then I'll do rolls. I'll use Sister Schubert's and somebody's rolls that everybody knows about. And then I do about 3 different desserts. I always do a pecan pie and a sweet potato pie.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll do a separate, maybe something chocolate A lot of people that I serve in North Mississippi love what they call Mississippi mud pie.
Yeah.
That's a chocolate. It's like a gingerbread cake.
Yeah.
A thick chocolate serving with pecans on top of it.
Uh-huh. Well, I tell you what, that sounds awfully good.
One more, I did a deep fried turkey for my other group with all the same sides.
Now, how do you like the fried turkey? Do you enjoy it?
Oh, I love it now. But see, don't try to cook that in the house. You cook that outside.
Yeah.
But you cook that turkey, that's the one that has to be defrosted.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you this, and a lot of people are going to laugh when I say this, but you know, just like you said you did that turkey, you know, I many times over the years, I have taken a frozen steak and put it on a grill, and that steak was as tender as any steak I've ever eaten. And I cooked it, like you said, I didn't overheat it, but I left it on there, and boy, that was good.
See, the moisture inside, where the particles are frozen inside, that moisture, particularly in a turkey, when you wrap it, is retained. And the meat is tender as it can be, and it's juicy. See, I hate, it don't matter if I'm grilling or cooking in the oven, I hate the white meat.
Oh, I'm the same way.
Animals, yeah, I hate it to be dried out.
Yeah.
I don't like to cook.
The key to turkey and the key to dressing is moisture to me. You're exactly right.
It is. That is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So
of course.
I've learned that through the years by, a lot of turkeys didn't come out too well early on. I took them out too quick.
Well, I know that you're getting ready for the holidays, and of course, you also go to a lot of parties this time of year. You're on everybody's party list, and what are some of the things that like if you were going to invite some people to come over, what would be some things that you'd want to be able to prepare as a good hors d'oeuvre?
I do a lot of hors d'oeuvres. I do a lot of chicken wings, and I do different types of meat.
Now, again, those chicken wings don't need to be dry now. They need to be moist.
They do not. No, they do not. And I'll do all mine on the grill. And I do a sweet sour barbecue sauce. It's tangy. I use a lot of cayenne pepper in mine, not at one time, but I use the cayenne with either honey or sweet sauce to give you a little tang that goes with the sweet taste.
How about can you get Kelly's sausage down there? Can you get Kelly's or Conecuh sausage?
Yeah, I have a company up in Central Alabama called Dorema Sausage.
Yeah.
Dorema Sausage, they've been in business since 1940. They're a major sponsor of my TV show.
Yeah, Dorema Sausage. I didn't know that. Are they just local, or do they sell all over the state?
Worldwide. No, they ship worldwide.
Dorema's, where are they located, Max?
Just outside Prattville, in Booth, Alabama.
Gosh, I didn't know that. I'd like to hear.
My website, if you go to my website, Ask Game Day TV.
Yeah.
I'm a major sponsor on that. In fact,
okay.
My last show aired last night. If you can pull it up anytime you want to, call Ask Game Day TV.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook page. And the Dorema Sausage is one of our major corporate.
Well, let me ask this. I know you do a lot of grilling. Do you throw a lot of sausage on up front? Now, I tell people all the time, I said, now, what you do, you take that Kelly sausage or you take that Dorema's link sausage and you put it on the grill, and then you take a piece of light bread and you take that sausage and put it on the light bread. Then you get a jar of honey and pour it over that. Man, it don't get any better than that, Max.
I do that. I don't care if I'm cooking steaks or chicken or whatever I'm cooking on the grill. On the top shelf, that's where I put my sausage.
Yeah.
And when the skin splits, I take it off, and I usually have some honey or.
And it goes real good with a cold beverage. For some reason, that's one of our favorite tailgate areas. But the problem is we end up eating too much sausage, and we're not hungry anymore.
That's always the case, Mike. But you know what? That's the plan.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this, Max. Also, right here in Troy, like Dorema's is a famous sausage company, in the Prattville area. How about Whaley Pecans in Troy?
My goodness.
And he was on our show the other day, and he sends pecans all over the world. And, Max, with the internet the way it is, and with you and your knowledge of cooking and recruiting, I would think that you could fill a magazine up with good things.
Well, I've published 2 cookbooks already. I have one more I want to take to press. I'm still putting it together. I want to do one big
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that was a good show too.
The South, and we did a segment called "Hey Max, what's for supper?" And we took it out of the old Grandpa
That's
Jones
right.
Hee-Haw group, and I just did it off the top of my head to start with. That became so popular that I started collecting recipes. And when I did my first cookbook, Mike, I had over 1,000 recipes to choose from.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm sitting here looking at a stack in my den right now. There's probably at least 1,000, 1,500 recipes in this box.
Let me tell you something else that's just darn good. Let me tell you something right now. If you're just sitting around, and it's not that fattening if you use whole wheat toast. Take some whole wheat toast, Max, and go ahead and pour your cinnamon over that toast, all over all that toast. Then you get some sweetener and sprinkle it over all the toast, and then get some butter and put a pretty good chunk of butter on each one of those toasts. 5 or 6 pieces. Stick it in the oven. Listen to this now, on broil, and watch it. Don't leave it in there long. But hey, what I'm saying, you don't have to wait and bake it. You can put it on broil, and after you turn the oven off, you broil it for maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes, and then you put it, you turn it off and leave it in the oven a little bit, where it hardens a little bit. And it's called old-fashioned cinnamon toast, and I was raised on it. And you know what? You think about it. Very other than the butter, very little fat in that dish. No sugar. You're using cinnamon, and you're using sweetener.
Yeah, I love that. I put a little brown sugar on mine, Mike.
See, my mother raised me on cinnamon toast.
Yeah, I was done the same way. Here's what I like now. I like that with a nice cup of coffee for breakfast.
That's right.
That's as good as you can.
And you know what? And you don't really have a lot of sugar in there, if you'll think about it.
It just gives you a little.
I was sitting I was in New York yesterday morning eating breakfast. We stay at this hotel where they serve a tremendous breakfast every morning. And they had good old-fashioned oatmeal, and they had walnuts. And they had some the dusted sugar, whatever you call it. Put it on top of it, and I had some cantaloupe. This is up in New York now, about 20 degrees outside when I was eating, but boy, it was really good.
I bet they didn't have grits, did they?
No, they did not have grits, and believe it or not, they didn't have any potatoes, but they do usually. But it's Residence Inn by Marriott, and it really was a great place to eat. I also ate at Carmine's, the famous Italian restaurant there, and they came out with a salad about as big as the table, and it was really good. I ate a lot of Italian food up there, Max. I don't know why, but
guess what?
Yeah, you're right.
A lot of immigrants came in here for business.
Fettuccine.
Yeah.
And, I wish they'd had a gangster, how they have these buses and they go out there. I wish they'd had a gangster bus trip. I would have got on it. They do in Chicago. They've got a bus trip that's strictly for the gangsters.
Well, they do. I mean, look, that's part of our history. And, I've noticed that all the people trying to destroy the Southern history don't want to try to bother with what went on in Chicago and New York.
Exactly.
They allow all that to stay.
Yeah. All right. I'll tell you something, though, that'll tickle you, Max. It'll tickle you more than anybody. My wife loves to go to Savannah, especially in the springtime. It's a beautiful area over there. And, and we go and we walk by Paula Deen's, the famous cook. And there's a line 100 yards long out there waiting to get in their restaurant. Well, in their windows, you can look through the windows and tell what they're eating. Let me tell you this. They're eating the same buffet that I eat at every day in Troy, at Sisters. I mean, hey, Sisters has got the same great fried chicken, the same great chicken livers, the same great ham, the same great rutabagas, turnips. They've got the best squash casserole you ever put in your mouth. I would put Sister's Restaurant, I'm serious now, straight up against Paula Deen's any day of the week. Now Paula Deen might make more pies and cakes, but as far as good, solid food, I would put Sisters up against them any day. And people are just begging to get in there to eat there.
Well, the difference is because she's been on TV, she's a popular
That's right.
source of food around the country, in particular in the South.
But
that's what people line up to do, is that
that's right.
popularity of saying, I've been there. I ate it.
That's right. But also eat at Sisters, and Pat and Geraldine know how to put on a feed, and it is a feed. And their desserts are world-famous banana pudding. They also have world-famous bread pudding. And they got cherry pie with hard crust. You know, to me, a pie is only as good as the crust. Don't you agree?
No doubt about that, Mike. And that's the difference. You know, how many times have you eaten at restaurants because they had a big name and the food wasn't that good?
That's right.
What brings people back is the service and the food.
Yes, sir.
People will go one time.
Now, when you make your pies, you make them from scratch, don't you? I mean, you make the hard crust, don't you?
Yeah, I do all the way. I do the base crust itself, roll it out. I still use a rolling pin, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, I can see you with your apron on, Max. And of course, Max, ladies and gentlemen, if you see Max, he looks like you don't look like you're a day older than when you were here. Of course, you worked out all your life. You're like Bud Casey. You feel like if you stop working out, you'll die.
I will. I don't think there's any doubt about that. If you'll pull up my show, 2 segments on my last show, I did some tailgating stuff. And I'm standing there in my apron.
Yeah.
And cooking on a grill. So it's called Ask Game Day TV. Just hit the like button and it'll pop up from last night. And we do a little bit of the bowl game and all that. But we finalized the show for the year. We did 20 episodes this year. And certainly 2 of those segments in there is tailgating and cooking in front of a grill.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, the thing now, one of the great delicacies now is fried beans. You know what I'm talking about? You know, deep fried beans. And those are getting to be about as popular as fried dill pickles.
Well, and everybody's trying some new stuff, and it depends on, the taste and the environment. And really, Mike, in all fairness, it depends on how much popularity you have and how much promotion you can do with that. And that's what, a lot of people, I found out early in my career, that everybody's taste is not the difference.
Yeah.
It's different.
All right, now, I don't know what kind of, I know this, that your mama, your sweet mama, that raised you, have you ever heard of a Lane cake?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, my mama was a teetotaler. I mean, let me tell you, she didn't want to, the last place in the world she would ever want to be seen in was the State Store. So she used to say, go by and pick me up a pint of good old bourbon whiskey.
Right.
And she'd pour a little, some people use wine, but she used whiskey and let those cakes sit up, with the coconut and the raisins and a Lane cake. A Lane cake's about as good a cake as you can find, especially when you got good pecans and you let it ferment a little bit. You know what I mean?
My mom did the fruit cake. This was long before Claxton ever.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, okay. You're right.
My mom, and that's exactly what she did. She made it around Thanksgiving, and she wrapped it in cheesecloth. And she put a half a cup of bourbon in it, put it in the closet where it was dark, and something about the light. It had to stay, and it stayed there. And you talk about we cut it on Christmas Eve night.
Uh-huh.
It was as tender and as sweet as anything you've ever eaten.
Yeah.
And I still remember that very well.
All right, how about this? Chocolate-covered cherries. We always had them. How about those chocolate drops that were little mounds, white chocolate on the outside, white on the inside? Do you remember those?
We did those.
How about those coconut balls? Those pink and yellow and white coconut balls.
We used to do a lot of. You talk about pecans. We used to pecans the salt. We had the sugar, the pecans.
Yeah.
Those are, to me, I remember that like it was yesterday.
But But you know, you could write a book about the days that you went through growing up with your mom and your daddy. And hey, if you got some underwear and some T-shirts and maybe a pair of overalls or some socks, you felt like you had a good Christmas, didn't you?
Oh, I remember early. I was 8. I was thinking about this yesterday. 8 years old. I got my first bicycle, and it was not a new bike. It was a used bicycle.
Yeah, I got you.
I get that Christmas as long as I live.
Yeah.
I lived on that bicycle for 24 years.
Well, let me tell you what my daddy did one day. One Christmas, he gave me an English bike. You remember those old English bikes?
Yeah,
and then he gave my brother a regular bike, and his bike lasted a lot longer than mine. But also what he gave us, and we played with it all Christmas Eve, Christmas morning, and that's starting at 1 o'clock in the morning, was an electric football set. You know, those types that those guys would be going everywhere, you know, it would be vibrating everywhere. We played that thing for hours and hours.
You know, and kids today, I hate to say this, but they get so much stuff, they don't even remember what they get. By the time the day's over, you know, they just... You
know, children, little children, I've got my brother-in-law's grandchild, all he does, now he's 4 or 5 years old, is plays with his computer the whole time. I mean, he grabs that thing and he sits there, and while everybody else is talking, he's playing with that computer. It's just amazing.
To me, that's what's wrong with the young kids today, Mike. They can't carry on a conversation.
All right, now you were raised in Prattville, now in Montgomery, and I lived. My grandma lived in Montgomery. You remember they used to block off the streets so kids could roller skate. When's the last time you seen anybody on roller skates?
That's the way I learned.
You remember how they used to block off the whole street, and except to only people that let through there is people that live there. But it gave a kid a place to skate.
Mike, the first time I ever saw an indoor skating rink is when I came to Troy.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mr. Andrews, Hilton's roller rink.
Yeah, I remember. I used to wear skates out.
Hey, do you remember why they call a skate key? You remember a skate key?
Absolutely, that's adjusted to adjust the size of your foot.
Well, let me tell you what we ended up doing with those skates. We ended up taking those skates off and nailing them to a few boards, and made us a little soapbox derby type thing. Go down the hills on them, little hot ride.
Yeah.
You have a string on one side and the other side. That's how you control it.
That's right.
And how about, let me ask this. When you were growing up, did you have a BB gun?
Oh, I've got one sitting right here in the corner.
All right. You remember that Daisy pump? I
did the Daisy.
All right, but you know the terrible thing, we went out and killed those pretty bluebirds and blue jays and robins. You know, we had people that I ran around with that they kill a robin, take it back home, pull its breast out, and fry him like a dove. And it wasn't much difference. It was not much difference in the flavor.
I made a rock, what we call it, it's like a chicken pot pie.
Yeah.
Robin breast.
Blackbird, the blackbirds were fairly edible too, weren't they?
Absolutely. Look, I was raised that way, Mike.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and listen, and of course, it was a shame that we'd kill those little English sparrows and everything. But when it got cold, those robins had those big old breasts. Do you remember that?
That's right, very much so.
Do you remember how mean a mockingbird was? Mockingbird you get too close to him, he'd attack you, man. A mockingbird would.
Hey, Mike, I still live in the country. I still have all those you're talking about.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I feed them now. I don't kill them now anymore.
And then they'd have what they call those cedar wax wings that would come in the wintertime, and they'd get drunk off the berries, and you would and they were a pretty bird. It's a shame that we killed them, but you could walk up there and almost put the barrel right on them.
You could.
Because they get drunk off those. But then they would mess up your car. They still do it. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah, they mess it up in a heartbeat. They give me blocks. I mean, it wouldn't be one or two.
Well, you know, you're older than I am. I'm not going to say how much older, but you're not that much older. But we grew up pretty much the same way. Hey, like right now at Bird Drugs in downtown Troy, Max, you can go in and order a milkshake. They get that aluminum container, and they'd go ahead and if you wanted a chocolate milkshake, they would scoop you either chocolate or vanilla ice cream in there, then put the chocolate syrup in there, then get real milk and pour it in there and stick it in there, and they would make that big container a milkshake. And then and what you do, you tell them, said, I want the container. You go out to and sit down at the table and eat a hamburger and a milkshake. That was a good combination, wasn't it?
It was absolutely. Are they still?
They still do that at Bird Drugs. They still make a milkshake that same way.
I want you to take me down there.
All right. Well, let me tell you what you can get there. A chocolate malt. Have you ever heard of a chocolate malt?
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Well, let me tell you something. They'll make you a strawberry. They'll make you a chocolate, a vanilla. If they've got an ice cream in there, they can make you a milkshake.
Unbelievable.
And those hamburgers are just the same hamburgers that we used to love to eat, you know. You remember in Troy, the old hut. You remember the old hut there in Troy?
Yes, I do.
Where you go in there, the old man was making those hamburgers on that skillet. I mean, hardly any meat, but they put it on a bun. The bun would be soft, and they'd have a mustard, mayonnaise, onion type sauce they put on top of it.
And the grease would.
The greasier the better. Hey, people said, "Oh, this is greasy." Well, I've never had a good hamburger that wasn't greasy. Would you?
I haven't either. No, I haven't, Mike. I don't believe mine.
At the airport yesterday in Atlanta, you're gonna appreciate this. There was a stand that had a hot dog that was famous for Atlanta. You know what hot dog I'm talking about?
That's the Varsity?
Varsity has stores now all over town called the Varsity, and they had it at the airport. I think they wanted $5 for a hot dog, but it was really good.
Mike, I'll tell you what, though, is you got one right there in Montgomery that's the best ever. That's
yeah.
2 minutes. Chris's hot dogs are big.
Oh, yeah, it is right there in Montgomery. And, of course, we had a green sandwich shop. I don't know if I'm sure it was there when you were in school. It was right next to the post office called Green Sandwich Shop. That was really good.
I remember that. Yes, I did.
Yeah, no question about it. Of course, it was really good. Talking to Max Howell, and part of your growing up days was spent right here in Troy, Alabama, wasn't they?
Very much so. I'll never forget them. And I told you earlier when I first started calling in, I'm trying to go back now. At my age, I'm trying to relive those memories.
Yeah.
I've been all over the country doing a lot of different things, but it's nothing like going home.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you're always welcome here, and we'd love to have you anytime. And, of course, we appreciate you calling in on Wednesdays. And, hey, it's a lot of fun, Max. And, again, have a great day. And, hey, we'll see you next Wednesday. How about that?
I'll be right there, Mike.
All right, thank you.
Good luck.
All right, buddy. Take care. Max Howell calling in, of course, a very well-known sports analyst. And, of course, I know we talk about a lot of the old things that used to happen to us, but that some of you don't know about. I want to mention the Jenright twins, Wood and Reed, combined to lead the Patriots to a 50-37 win over their arch rival, Fort Dale Academy of Dothan. I want to mention that Troy University will be playing a Wednesday night game in Dothan against Milligan College on December the 21st at 6 p.m. The game will be played at the Dothan Civic Center, so you can go down, do a little Christmas shopping, and go see the Trojans. The Trojans have a perfect record playing in Dothan last year. They won 114-52. Troy lost a heartbreaker the other night to Southern Mississippi, and now they'll be journeying this weekend to play Arkansas, the University of Arkansas in Little Rock. I think that game is scheduled for Saturday night. Of course, everybody's getting ready for the big trip to to New Orleans for the New Orleans Bowl. It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of folks are heading down today. Some folks are heading down on Thursday, and some folks are heading down on Friday. And there are even people that I know that are getting up early Saturday morning and heading to New Orleans. And like my buddy was telling me yesterday, we're going to take over New Orleans, and we'll talk more about that on our show tomorrow. And, of course, we appreciate you very much, and have a great day.